All right, and welcome back to the hot seat with your host, Ryan Hanley, who is not wearing product tonight, as he says. And me, Marcus Sheridan from the sales line, and from Ryan is from RyanHanley.com. We have a fun 35-minute episode, I think, tonight. We're going to be talking about a little bit of content marketing, probably a lot of bit of content marketing, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We got 4 sections. If anybody wants to jump on in and strongly say they agree or disagree with anything that we said, you're welcome to do that, because this is being recorded, of course, on Blab. And we love the fact that we can do this through video as well as through audio in the future. That's called repurposing, y'all. And that's how you got to do your content marketing. All right, Mr. Hanley. So every episode we start off with Tap Your Brain. That's when we talk about the things that are on our mind. Sir, let's tap your brain this evening. What's on your mind?
I hate with
Strong
a big
word.
capital H.
Strong.
The fact that Twitter changed the star to a heart. Hate it. Hate everything
Totally
about it.
with you. Great observation. Way to start this show off, right,
Hate
Hanley?
Everything about
It's
it.
like, could I be any more like Facebook?
Yes, could I have any less of a clue? Could I be grasping? It's literally like they hired like the most Bush League marketing firm and said, what should we be doing to Twitter to make it more of a social network? And someone came in and said, those hearts seem to be working for
Hearts are killing it.
Periscope.
Hearts are the
and
thing.
Instagram.
Hearts are the big thing.
So why don't you change your thing, which was perfectly fine, and according to them means essentially the exact same thing, and except we're just going to make it a red heart, which doesn't fit your design or your theme or really anything about your platform. It basically is completely out of context in terms of everything that you've ever done. But you should do this. And then you make a big deal out of it, like anyone is ever going to care other than make fun of you. And that's exactly what's happened, because it's the stupidest thing that I've ever seen for a major social network to be focusing on that stupid feature.
That is the thing that's going to
Yes.
actually make you
Yeah.
successful. We got a problem. If you're counting on changing your favorite to a like heart, we got problems, yo.
Like, think about this. Someone in a boardroom, like they're sitting around and they're like, we gotta figure this thing out. Like, it's just not going as well as it should be. And someone raises their hand. They're like, oh, sir, what if we change the star to a heart?
And would you think there was like this moment of silence afterwards? Like
Everyone's like
a hush.
oh my God, this is so silly. It's just stupid.
Hanley,
Stupid.
that's beautiful.
Hate. Capital H.
That is beautiful. That's the way to start this party. Mine is more technical tonight because, you see, Hanley, I spent 7 hours teaching workshops today to some different businesses about this thing that you and I call content marketing. And for some reason, one of the questions that came up like 3 times today is, Marcus, so I'm paying money for an SEO. Should I stop? Now,
Good question.
it's on my mind
question.
because here's the thing, Hanley. Let me just say I'm not anti-SEO companies, but this is the norm. Normally, the impact an SEO company makes happens within the 3 to 6 month mark. And then, and this is most, not all right, and this is more the traditional style, what they do is they send you a report every month for the rest of your life saying, and by the way, we are keeping you ahead of all the changes that Google is making. We want you to know that we are on top of things. And what happens is, for the next 6 months or year or whatever, you end up wasting a lot of money that you could have been spending in better places. I think the fact of the matter is this: after 3 to 6 months, if your SEO team that you're using is not doing content marketing, is not helping you produce content targeting real keyword phrases, then they ain't doing their job and they should probably not be around. You should probably stop paying them money. And I say this for 90+% of the time. It's not the case every single time. Hanley, what say you?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, and we talked about this when we were, we always pre-show, so behind the scenes here, we always talk to each other for about 10 or 15 minutes before we go live, just so we kind of are on the same page with what the topics are. And I said to you that we recently just received a really large SEO audit for trustedchoice.com, which has 30,000 pages. It has 2 different applications built inside of it. It has profile pages. There's tons of content in CMS. It's a relatively complex setup in terms of our content structure. And I only took over a year ago, so I had really had no clue about 75% of the site. And I would say that I've gotten 2 SEO reports in my life. One for a small business, WordPress, basically content in a few pages, and that was almost worthless. This was, on the other hand, one of the most robust. And what are those facial features that you're making? They're creeping me out.
Oh, it's just I'm having fun with Francis in the back.
So then the fact that it's sunny with palm trees behind you is making me miserable.
Yeah, she said, Marcus, you got to get rid of the palm tree in the back. And I'm like, okay, so how do I get rid of the palm tree in the back? Because there is no good place in this hotel room to do a black.
Terrible podcast content right now. So just to kind of finish on my story, in that case, I found the initial audit and the reports they delivered to be incredibly valuable. What I would say ongoing, and this is actually a question I want to throw back to you off of this, is I completely agree with you. At a certain point, you fixed all the issues, right? You fixed the issues. And I think it probably then goes down to some sort of very small retainer or hourly fee contract where when you need them, you have questions, you can bring them back in. They're already familiar with your site. They've set a baseline with that initial audit. If someone comes in and doesn't do an initial audit, I feel like that should be an immediate sign to run for the hills because they're not setting the baseline for their work and you have nothing to benchmark off of, which is why they did this. They forced us to do this audit if we wanted to work with them because they wanted to set the baseline so that as we fixed issues, we could tell what was happening. But if you're a content-based site, an initial review, making sure you have the basics of SEO set up properly, and then you really don't need an SEO after that. So here's the question I want to ask you. You said an SEO company essentially should morph into, not exactly these words, but essentially morphs into a content company or a content marketing company at some point. Agreed.
Well, and the best ones are the ones that realize, okay, SEO is dramatically changing. We better be a content marketing company or we are in huge trouble.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on ghostwriting?
When you say outsource, so you mean outsourcing your content?
Outsourcing your content, but publishing it under your own name or your company's name.
To me, it's just, is it a true representation of your company? And so I don't think outsourcing content is ever good until they actually interview you for said content, or at least most of the time. Most of the time. And excuse me, I think I'm going to die. Most of the time, that's just not possible unless – that's why I think every company, if they can, they should have their own content manager who is doing what a ghost writer would be doing with the employees. That's my take on it.
Yeah. I think that – so I'm looking for ways to increase our content production for our company. And I only have 2 people and I have 30,000 pages, right? So writing one more page has limited value at a certain point, right? Because we've hit a lot of things and now we're trying to determine, is it valuable to have people write for us, but write under their own author, and not that I'm against giving people credit for the work they do. That's 100% not what I'm saying. It's just figuring out what is, when you are a brand representing an industry, not a brand in and of itself, I think you have to be very cognizant of your decisions and who is representing, who is the speaker of that brand, right? So if you had to vet every single writer who wrote for you behind the content, that becomes a really heavy lift. So it's just, things that we're working on and, it kind of breeds off of this. Do SEOs become content marketers?
Yeah, I think you're certainly not alone. Ultimately, I think, to me, it just sounds like I think every single organization needs to have a content manager at this point. If you're doing more than $1 million a year in revenue, that's just my quick, frank opinion. Everybody should have it. All right.
So let me ask you this, and not that I just want to keep pushing here on this topic only because I think it's interesting. Do you think So you have when you say a content manager, are you saying a copywriter as a content manager? Like your content manager is a copywriter,
They should have those skills, in my opinion. They should have those
I
skills.
agree with you. I agree with you completely. So that would be the thing that I would say is content manager has to produce content as well as cultivate content and help others produce content as well. We made some shifts in our team to get people realigned to places that they need to be, mostly because you need to have both set of skills. If you're just an editor and in no way a content producer and also content manager, I feel like you're losing a lot from that position, an incredible lot.
Well, and you got to be great at interviewing. I mean, there's a whole set of skills. I mean, and we've actually at SalesLine, we've hired a lot of these people. Yeah. And just because, by the way, somebody has a journalism degree doesn't mean they can write. That's one thing I've clearly learned. It's kind of disappointing, to be honest with you. There's a lot that and you would think they could work under deadlines, but they can't. All right, news for nerds, Mr. Hanley. You actually have something tonight that you wanted to talk about, an article you stumbled across. I thought it was really interesting, so fire away, dude.
Well, so my news for nerds tonight, I'm actually glad, that you're in a hotel and that you're safe and everything, because there's a decent chance that in the near future you start glowing green.
I'm glowing right now on this blab, by the way. I've got this very heavenly vibe going.
Somebody drove by with a Geiger counter, you'd be in big trouble. According to an article I just read in the Harvard Business Review about the health risks of business travel, which you probably travel on the high end of business travel. I'm probably a moderate business traveler, although I do hit the mark here. If you fly more than 85,000 miles per year, you're absorbing more radiation than the regulatory limit in most countries in the world. And just so everyone knows, I fly maybe twice a month, sometimes 3 times a month, and I am right around 100,000 miles. Marcus, you're way more than me. You do international travel as well. So there's a decent chance that in the near future you start glowing. So I just wanted you to be aware of that fact.
Hey, baby, I'm nuclear. I'm going nuclear, and I'm totally down with it. I love traveling. I love traveling with my daughter. By the way, if y'all haven't started following travelingwithdad.com, that's when my daughter raps about her experiences. You should read that sometime, Hanley. You can see what you're in for in 14 years, my man, with the Duke. We'll see if the Duke is traveling with you. You'll be like, my dad sucks. I ain't traveling that fool. I'm just kidding, man. The Duke is the man. The Duke is the man. All right, my man. So let's, as always, we have a little section called Dude, Did You See That? And that's when we talk about the things that we just see that we're just like, man, I can't believe that. Did you see on the cover of Time magazine, they had that cover that has bacon and it's like X'd on the cover of the magazine. And now all of a sudden we've gone from we worship bacon to there's a war on bacon. This has nothing to do with marketing, I know. But I swear, if we followed every single this stuff will cause you cancer, I don't think we can do anything other than drink water and eat the occasional leaf of lettuce, man.
Yeah, I don't listen to that crap. I'm stupid. Stupid. My wife always yells at me about eating cereal. I don't give a shit. I love cereal.
Cereal throws your blood sugar up. Yeah. It's glorious, though. It really is glorious. It makes you feel terrible, but it is glorious. So do you have a DDYST? Did you see that tonight?
If you get to skip news for nerds tonight, I'm skipping. Did you?
Okay.
Go, because I want to go sports again, and I promised myself I wouldn't do that. So
sorry you lost the World Series. It's all good though.
Yeah, I lost the World Series. We went to London. The Bills went to London. They lost again. The best thing about the season has been so far that last week was the bye week. So that's essentially a win for us. It's just I didn't want to go there. This has been a dreary episode so far. We got to turn it up a little.
Turn it up, dude. So let's talk about the title of the episode, which is, and now hot seat time. Just talking about some major topics that are on our mind. Certainly tonight we got a lot of content marketing things that are on our mind. So let's rap a little bit about automation, my friend, and how that's going to impact content marketing going forward. Tell us, what do you think, buddy?
Yeah. So this one. I'm actually going to go to Mark Schaefer's blog, Businesses Grow. A buddy of mine, Mars Dorian, is a contributor there, and he came out with this today, and it just to me it's a huge issue in our industry, and something that I feel like content marketers, I almost feel like it's becoming content marketers' role to save their businesses from this, right? So I'm just going to break down, and I'm going to put the link in the show notes here, but it's called 3 Tips for Future-Proofing Your Digital Career. And I'm not going to read the 2 tips, just one, because I think it works. So basically, Mars is at a party and he is talking to one of the guys that's there. And the guy, they're talking about how in Germany, Mars is from Germany, how on the German Autobahn, Daimler just tested the first autonomous tractor trailers, cruising down the Autobahn, taking whatever cargo from one place to another. And this guy's dad is a truck driver on the Autobahn. And basically, when this guy's dad saw this story, he said to his kid, like, my job is done. It's over with, right? Automation has taken it over. And then a couple days later, the CEO of Uber, Travis whatever the heck his name is, doesn't matter. I know his first name is Travis Kalanick. He is quoted in an article as, he's basically says that in 10 years, he plans on replacing every Uber driver with autonomous vehicles. So basically created Uber, create groundswell by giving all these people jobs. And he's already looking past that and saying, the most important piece of this is the app. And with autonomous driving technology and GPS and whatever else technology comes out in the next 10 years, essentially having a actual driver in the car will be pointless in 10 years. And, that's my goal. Now, we can get to the merits of that scenario anytime. But so these are the 2 stories that set the table for this. And, Mars's point of this article, which I think is brilliant, is the very first thing he comes out with is, for as much automation that happens, there is always going to be a need for the human factor, that we humans desire human contact. And, my thought on this, and this is where I want you to drop in, is that I firmly believe, I love automation. I love technology. I love the efficiency and effectiveness that it can bring to a business. But I also firmly believe that it's like Einstein's equation, right? With every bit of automation that exists, with every step forward we take in automation, there's an equal and opposite step that must be taken the other way to create unscalable human experiences in your business so that people still continue to feel that human touch and relationship that comes with why they chose your business in the first place.
Man, it's interesting you talking about this because you said we could debate the merits of what Uber is doing and saying, hey, we're going to replace our force with automated vehicles, self-driving vehicles in 10 years. Is that good or bad? Well, the reality is he's actually doing what most companies refuse to do. He's doing the anti-Kodak with that statement, right? He's saying, so I know that what's going to make the Uber business model obsolete is automated vehicles. So the app, the process of getting I want to find what I'm looking for. I want to find it quickly is taking over the whole world. And Billy Bob Brigham says, robots need love too. Yes, they do. But Uber understands this definitively well right now. They've made it easier for us. They've made it faster, more seamless experience. They also understand that somebody's going to take them over one of these days. And so they're not going to let that happen. And so the owner has a choice here, the CEO, whatever you want to call it, has a choice. You can have, you can sit there and say, we can't take away all these jobs that we've provided. Or you can say, those jobs are going to be made obsolete anyway if we don't do something about it. We might as well continue to grow Uber and replace those jobs that we lost maybe out in the field with more whatever. Because like you said, oftentimes when you create automation that loses jobs, it actually creates other jobs in some other space. And maybe that's their focus. So when you talked about what Uber was doing, that was the thing that was on my mind because most companies are never willing to replace themselves because they're stuck
I agree with that.
on their own technologies, methodologies, and what made them special. It's pretty dang cool that they're willing to replace themselves. That is very, very rare.
Yeah. So there's actually two things that I take away from this story. Is one, I guess when I say the merits of it, I don't actually care that he sees his business model transitioning, and I'm with you. I applaud the fact that he's looking beyond next year or the next quarter and just trying to increase profits enough so that his stock goes up, whether inside or outside, public or private. I guess what I question is whether he could replace his entire workforce with automated cars. And I had this debate with a coworker actually today, because I basically talked about this article all day long. A whole idea of automation and integrating human experiences into it, I find to be very intriguing, because I do think that it's the content marketer's job to build in those touch points, those conversations, those experiences, those interactions at every scale, from completely automated to unscalable one-to-one phone call on a standard phone, right? Like it is our job to look at all those touch points and build in how our company interacts with our client base. So, my thought is, I don't ever believe that you could replace every Uber car with a robot, because there will be days when, and the thing I gave is I was in Richmond, then I was in Illinois, and the very next day I was in Omaha, Nebraska. And when I got to Omaha, I was feeling very disconnected from the world. I don't know if you ever get this, but just, you go to your job, you leave, you go to your job, you leave, and you never really have like a real conversation. It's always, I'm in performance mode, I'm in kind of activated, do my job mode, and then I'm on traveling again, and then I'm activated, and then I'm traveling again. And I got a taxi driver coming from the airport to my hotel in Omaha, and this guy was just a great guy. He was not being pushy with the conversation. He was just talking, and we're talking about Omaha, and I'd never been there before. We're talking about the College World Series. And I got to my car. I got to the hotel. He drops me off, 20-minute thing. And I said, wow, that guy just completely pulled me back into reality. Like, I was on the road for really intense, doing workshops like you. And I just, it drains the life out of you. And to have that 20 minutes of interaction, I would pay more knowing that I was going to get that.
Always going to be a market for it.
That's what I'm saying.
Always going to be a market for that. I would agree.
Don't think you can replace it. I think there's always going to be a need for human experience in every business. I think it will be dialed down because people will be able to choose. We already see this in the insurance space that I work in. It's Geico versus the people that I represent, right? The independent insurance agent is all human experience. Geico is all automation. And there are a market for everything. I just that was really what I was trying to debate was how,
good
where,
stuff,
when.
Hanley. I love how your brain is on overdrive on this automation thing tonight, dude. I mean, you're just on, as my 14-year-old daughter would say, you're on fleek tonight, Hanley. When it comes to on fleek, you haven't used that phrase yet.
No, that's
this is the difference between somebody like me who's in touch with his children and in touch with what is the just generation of teenagers. What are they called? They're not millennials. What are they? Generation X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D. I don't know what letter number.
Does anybody know? Someone in the comments. Fleek. Sue knows Fleek.
Sue Zimmerman. She's
got teenage kids.
I mean, she totally gets it. Sue's so great. She's so
yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the Duke isn't fleeking or whatever.
He's fleeking.
The word.
More like peeing in his pants. Okay, yeah. So this is where I want to have one final conversation about content marketing tonight, Hanley, before we close out. And of course, the sidebar is going crazy with the semantics of Fleek, which is great. And by the way, just so for those that don't know, you've got on Fleek. You also have the phrase ratchet, okay, which is another one. I'm not going to explain it. You just have to look it up yourself. Ratchet is a big one that the teens are using. I know all the teenage phrases.
Ratchet.
Okay, yeah,
isn't that exactly a tool that you use to fix your car? You would.
Yeah, and there's another one, Hanley, that's just trill. That's so trill. So anyway, I use it with my daughter's friends because I'm cool like that. I don't expect you to ever do that. Like, trill equals chill. Good one, Sue. Sue B knows this stuff because she's got the same.
So I could legitimately say like I'm trilling right now. Like I'm just trilling.
Well, you could. And if you're creating a GIF, you could say I'm GIFing right now, and that would make you very, very happy. Okay, so let's have one last little conversation about content marketing tonight, and that is this. Here's my question, Hanley. Fundamentally, is there a difference between B2B and B2C content marketing? Because I tell you what, if you ask pretty much every B2B, especially if they haven't really, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to put people in a corner, but for the most part, B2B immediately would say content marketing is very, very different in the B2B space. I think fundamentally it is essentially the exact same thing. So Hanley, what say you?
Marcus, B2B, it's just, you don't understand. It's so different. Like, you don't understand how different their business is and how
get that, homie.
Their customers would never go online. Like, they've never even heard of the internet before, and they would never look for problems or questions. And they would never think to themselves, like, maybe the answer to my problem is on the interweb. Like, no, what I'm going to do.
I mean, so obviously we're on the same page. I appreciate your sarcasm, but like, where does this come from?
Elitism. It's elitism.
It's driven me crazy. And by the way, on the sidebar, everybody's talking about how good looking you are. My wife even jumped in and said how much she likes your hair. So when Nikki Sheridan 6, by the way, that's my wife. She's down in the hotel lobby right now, and she is literally watching me on Blab when she could be in the hotel room, but she just wanted to stay away. This is a weird world in which we live. God bless the world in which we live.
I appreciate that. And just for those who weren't here for the pre-show, this is actually second day product. And I was explaining to Marcus that when you properly train your hair, you don't need to product every day because it recedes your hairline. That's just a little food for thought. Just throwing that out there. Properly trained hair does not need to be product every day.
So look, here's the deal though.
I'm going to answer this honestly.
You answer first. And
I firmly believe that B2B companies are elitist and drink this strange Kool-Aid that somehow, because they sell to other businesses, that they are so much more sophisticated and their market is so rare and so built on relationship that their clients would never even consider going to the internet. And I'm not even being sarcastic there. I think they honestly believe that because they sell to businesses that like the business, like the physical structure, doesn't go online. And I think they're right about that, right? The building most likely is not searching the internet, but there's a very decent chance that one of the human beings inside the business could be, like the assistant who gets tasked with figure out why my insurance bill went up. And she goes to the internet and goes, why is my restaurant insurance so high? Right?
Like, that's very fast.
Yes, one finger at a time. That's probably happened before in history, and why content marketing works pretty much the same way.
So here's what's crazy. The worst space in the world at this is the B2G space, which you don't hear that phrase in a lot of states, but of course that means business to government. You hear it all the time in Virginia. And in the B2G space, they swear that procurement and this whole process of finding a contractor never, ever, ever happens online. And what I absolutely love doing, Hanley, and I'm sure you've probably done this before, is I'll have somebody approach us and I say, who do you work with? And they say, we're a B2B and a B2G. Okay, fine. So let's play. And they say, but I don't think that this would work at all in the B2G space. I said, okay, so if you were a government worker and you were tasked with procuring XYZ type of contractor, how would you search it? What would you type? And I'm telling you what, when you start to do keyword research, Hanley, it's amazing how many searches are happening where it's clearly only somebody for the government would have searched it. Yeah. It's an obvious thing that they are searching. Even B2G is going to be a very internet-based buying, finding process as the future rolls on.
B2G definitely types like this, super slow, like Like I have to be here for another 8 hours before the bell rings and they let me stand up. So I'm going to type very
on their
slow.
on their Commodore 64.
Because my one goal today is to do one Google search, and then I've achieved all my goals for the government today.
But seriously though, the moment you start to do serious keyword research is the moment you realize that everybody is using the internet. At least there is a group in your space that is using the internet to find things. That's the reality. And that group is only going to grow with time.
Yep.
And any company that denies, and what's funny too is one of the things that a lot of companies says is, we are a referral-based business. No, okay. You're a referral-based business because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You haven't given the world any other reason to contact you other than referrals.
Yeah.
And so it's great that you're a referral-based business, but you don't know what you're missing because, you know, the analogy is this, Hanley. The problem is a lot of these companies don't realize that there is somebody walking into the retail store, looking around, and then walking out and not saying a word. You can't track that on the internet. You can't track that really with your, I mean, you can track balances, but you can't truly track that. And so to say nobody buys online in my space, I've never seen that to be the true case in any industry whatsoever. And I'm telling you what, I've been in some crazy ones at this point, bro.
So I'm going to give you a quick story about referrals because this is something I get all the time in the insurance industry, and I'm with you. I think it's complete crap. So at the insurance agency I used to work with, I sat down with my father-in-law, and I was constantly being questioned about the digital marketing, making sure I wasn't wasting resources or whatever. So I said, well, where does our business come from? And he leaned back in his chair and he said, we're hunters. We go out and get our business. We go find those referrals. We do great jobs for people and they refer us to our friends. Fair enough. Let's track it just to prove where it's coming from. No problem. So this is probably 4 years ago, 2 years before I left the agency and started what I'm doing today, 2.5 years. So we start tracking. And we see that about 70% of our business actually comes from passive referral. So that doesn't mean, so Marcus, I sell you business, I sell you insurance, and a passive referral is me then doing nothing. You going home and over a beer a few years later, you tell your brother, hey, Steve, you need to use Ryan. He's a great insurance agent. That's a passive referral, right? Like I did nothing to get it. It just happened. A proactive referral would be me saying, Marcus, give me the name and number of 3 of your friends so I can interrupt their lives and hawk them my insurance. So what we found is, so this was like right after I started doing hardcore content marketing for the agency. I'd been doing it for myself before that as a producer, not for the agency. What we found is over the course of those 2 years, our passive referrals actually went up over the 2 years as we started to establish a more predominant online presence in the local space. And here's why. What happens is today, I do business with somebody, right? I do business with an accountant and he does a great job. So I say to Marcus, we're playing golf. And I say, Marcus, I know you've been talking about needing an accountant. You got to use this woman I just worked with. She's great. And you should try her out. And you go, yeah, Ryan, sure. I'll get to that. I'll give her a call someday. Then what do? You forget. You go on with your life. But a month later, you're thinking about it. And you say, you know what? I'm going to check out that woman that Ryan told me about. And you don't call her. You go to her website and you spend time and you vet her and you look at her articles and you look at her website and you maybe look at her social space or you look at, has she been mentioned in newspaper, any of these other things. And here's the deal. Today, the passive referrals that used to happen automatically because there was no vetting process, right? The vetting process was me giving you the referral. Today, me giving you the referral isn't enough to get that done. Today, you then go to my website and check me out. And here's the rub. If you like what you see, you call me. And what do most companies do? They write that down as a passive referral and they never give their content marketing or their website credit. Here's how you know if your content marketing doesn't work. Your phone isn't ringing because the deal is everyone is vetting you online, everybody. And if you have a crappy website that doesn't tell your story, that isn't a good indication of who you are, isn't answering people's questions that could potentially have about your business, they're not calling you. They're calling somebody else. That is absolutely what's happening every single day. I watched it happen in my insurance agency. And the day I left, we had an 83% passive referral rate, which was fantastic because the other ones grew as well. We just grew as a business, but we actually grew our passive referrals 13% because more and more people were seeing what we were doing, thinking that we were a good provider, and actually making that call when before they weren't.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, big dog.
I've done this before.
That. Word.
That shit is trill, yo. That shit is trill.
Yo, that little rant was so on fleek. I'm not sure if I think that's about it, folks. You heard it from Mr. Hanley. You heard it. Hanley, do we want to stop it there?
I mean, if I had a microphone, I would drop it.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and stop it there. And in fact, I'll probably let Daniel here in a second. He's trying to jump in. But I guess I'll go ahead and close out just the recorded version of the hot seat. And we certainly appreciate everyone listening this evening. And so until the next time, thank you so very much.
Take it easy, guys. We'll catch you.